Pop Jedi. I'm, of course, Rob DiLauro, and with me, as always, is Miss Di Marie. Di, what's going on?
Hello.
And JennaSayWhat is here. Jenna, what's going on?
Not too much, Rob. What's going on with you?
So, first of all, as you can tell, these guys have, went all out once again, and they're being the Natasha Romanoffs inside their souls, and they look wonderful. Also, guys, want to thank you very much for your continued love and support once again. This is actually episode 20, so this is actually a milestone episode. And if you're not understanding the dynamic here, we're actually working on the first week of 2 weeks of talking about Black Widow. This is going to be the Red Ledger episode where we talk about the cinematic legacy of Scarlett Johansson as the character. And next week, we'll be focusing on the actual movie that finally comes out worldwide. Diana, what's going on in Top Jedi this week?
Exciting news for Aliens fans. So Noah Hawley, who wrote the series Fargo, is actually working on the script for the new Alien series. He just wanted to make it clear that this series is not a Ripley story. He believes that the original films captured her story perfectly, and he just didn't want to touch that. But this will focus on inequality. This is going to be the first installment that's going to take place on Earth rather than space. So what he's hoping to do with this show is to make it so that what would happen if the aliens weren't contained and how much of a disaster that would cause on Earth, which I'm super excited about.
Speaking of disaster, they actually did that one time with the sequel Alien versus Predator, which was on Earth.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was on Earth.
Yeah.
Why is my brain put in space still?
But it seems to me from the interviews that I'm hearing, it seems like this is probably more focused on Weyland-Yutani as a company. So I'm hoping it kind of stays in the vein of the actual original stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't have too much to say about it. I mean, it seems like he knows what he's doing as far as the scope of what he's trying to do and everything.
Yeah, so we don't have an official release date yet, but
he hasn't even started filming yet, has he?
No, they're hoping to do it by spring of 2022, but this will be taking place not too far into the future. So just keep an eye out and we'll let you guys know as soon as we hear more about the story.
Jenna, what's next in Top Jedi?
So some new stills came out for the Batman the Long Halloween part 2. So the new stills show my boy Scarecrow with Mad Hatter, and we see Bruce with Jim Gordon with the bat signal shining up into the sky, and then we got our next look at Poison Ivy, my girl.
And Katie Sackhoff is also part of the Mandalorian. This is Pop Jedi. So
yep, and I do believe that the Long Halloween comes out July 27th. Is that correct?
I believe so. Yeah.
Perfect. You know why? Because that's my birthday.
Nice.
And of course, Scarecrow's movie would come out on my birthday of all days. So that's just my little happy birthday to me. So go watch it because it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, I have not seen the first half yet. I'm hearing a lot of great things about it, and I'm looking forward to just just having it all come out as one thing. You know what I mean? So I can just digest all of it at once. But yeah, it looks amazing. The artwork is absolutely beautiful, and I think, God, the cast list is ridiculous. By the way,
it's insane.
So next in Top Jedi, I'm actually going to focus on a man that we talked about last week, Mr. Quentin Tarantino. I got his book Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in the mail today. Can't wait to get into it. But Quentin just did a 3.5-hour interview with Joe Rogan on the Joe Rogan Experience.
I loved it.
Absolutely amazing interview. He also did one with WTF, the Mark Maron podcast, if you want to check that out as well. And he got more into some family stuff and, his relationship with his dad and whatnot. So Quentin's making the rounds, as a novelist, for the first time, which is really interesting. There's a couple things that he actually mentioned in the interview. One being that he is going to be done after this last movie that he does. He's actually focusing more on novels now. He wants to make a play, maybe for Reservoir Dogs. Hateful Eight. He was saying he wanted to make a play for the Hateful Eight, which is crazy. But the other interesting thing was he's been saying it for years that he's been wanting to do it, but he had laid out the summary for Kill Bill Volume 3. So his plan was actually, as he put it, he was going to make a movie where BB, Beatrix's daughter, the bride's daughter, would be who would be played by Maya Hawke, basically just have their peace disrupted 20 years later. And his whole thing was that like Elle Driver's still alive even though she got her eye taken out. Sophie Fatale is still alive even though her arm was taken off. And they all have Bill's money now, so they can do whatever they want. And he was also saying that it was actually Oren Ishii's bodyguard Gogo Yubari has a twin.
Plot twist.
Yeah, definitely. So he doesn't know whether or not he's going to do Kill Bill. I think the whole thing is he just wants to really kind of focus on his son and his family right now. Do some book stuff, and just make the movie whenever he feels it's the right time. The other thing that he said that really raised the bar as far as Quentin Tarantino for me, and I've already loved the guy very much anyway. He had mentioned that he was going to work on a book that was based on 80s cinema. And he said that Near Dark, directed by Catherine Bigelow, is one of the greatest films of the 80s. Not horror films, not vampire films, just films in general. Because he likes the actual like Manson cult dynamic of that film. Like it's not like vampires that you see all the time in general. They're just flying around and that kind of stuff. And I have to absolutely agree that movie's a masterpiece.
Gal Gadot and her husband welcomed their third baby, Danielle. She announced it on Instagram on the 29th. So it looks like mom, baby, and family are all happy and healthy. She posted that she was grateful, happy, and tired. So we're all really happy for her and her family.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, and of course, we wish the family well and stuff. And I just hope she gets back to work soon. I love Gal Gadot, and another Wonder Woman movie would be okay with me. Jenna, what's next in Top Jedi?
So the Last Voyage of the Demeter is coming out. Filming started today, I believe. And that may not resonate with you if you're not a fan of Bram Stoker's Dracula. But that is the ship, the doomed ship that Dracula got brought to America in. And that is the ship that he kills everyone on. Spoiler alert. But I'm really interested in this take on it, because normally you just have it follow like Dracula's like whenever he's already feet on the ground, like the ship isn't like a main part of it. It's always like just a little puzzle piece. It's just like okay, this is how he gets there. It's not just like he magically appears. It just isn't like a big portion of that movie or that book. So it's like, it's interesting to see, because I'm just like, I want Dracula to be a full moon with like a glass of wine on the deck and just being like, and we're gonna bite someone. Like I need something like that.
Yeah, I think it would be more of a mystery, because people are probably getting picked off left and right on the ship, and they have to like kind of figure it out. But another thing that's really great about this, I was not a huge fan personally of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I thought it was fun.
I loved it.
But Andre Overdahl, I think he's a great director for this. And we've got another stellar cast. Dave Dismaltron, we just mentioned previously. John Briomes from Ratched, and the list goes on and on. Yeah, and Javier Botet playing Dracula with all the distortion he can do with his body and everything. Oh my God, it's gonna be
like
incredible.
I'm ready for it. I'm really excited, because like I grew up with the old black and white films. I loved old school horror, like all the classics, and this is really resonating with me, because I've always kind of in the back of my head wondered what happened on the ship. Like I knew what happened, the end game of the ship, but like I wanted to know more about like, did everybody know? Like, did someone have an inkling? Like, what happened? Like,
so next in Top Jedi news, you know what? Not, if you're a fan of the show, it's very apparent. But it seemed like the showrunner had just, very much declared that Loki is truly a love story. And, you know, like I said, if you are a fan of the show, I mean, you know, you're seeing that happen right before your eyes. And, you know, honestly, the only thing that I could say is I am not a fan to ship characters. I've never done that before. But these two, I very cutesily want to get together. Like, I love Sophia DiMartino in this role. I hope she stays in the MCU. She's wonderful. You know, not to get into spoilers, you know, because eventually we are going to get into the, you know, like this full season of Loki. But you know, I think it's beautiful. And again, you know, there was a controversy out there that, you know, the fact that he was, you know, mentioned to be bisexual, and it seemed like Marvel had placed him in a hetero relationship or hetero feelings. I think it still works because Loki, in essence, is very fluid,
Yeah.
and you know, and also a narcissist. So you don't really know if he's just falling in love with himself or he legitimately feels for this person. You know what I mean? Like, I think he does because, you know, obviously that's the thing that's, you know, kind of skewing the sacred timeline from what I gather. It's just beautiful the way they're doing it because, you know, we had done our episode of Legacy of Loki before, and, you know, like we said, you know, yeah, he probably loves his adopted family. He does care about his brother, but I think this is actually the first real moment where Loki is not only seeing who he is as an individual, but also that he can also have very deep love in his heart as well. Like, he's not a complete and utter monster. I think it's beautifully done.
Just what I gathered from that episode, it just seems like Loki is starting to grasp his flaws.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he admitted, like, I am a narcissist. I do need attention and all these other things. And then according to the writer, Michael Waldron, who did confirm this story, the story is about love, self-reflection, and forgiving yourself. So it's nice to see that they're adding a lot more dimension to Loki's character.
Jenna, what's next in Top Jedi?
So they started filming the new Black Panther movie, and the whole cast is going to be there, minus Chadwick Boseman, of course. And I feel like they're going to do a really, really good job. They miss him on set. It's very emotional on set from what I'm gathering, which is understandable. I mean, whenever you work that closely with someone, they really become your family. They, you know, so everybody's excited to bring the world of Wakanda back to the public and back to the fans. And they said that they're going to be making Chad proud. So
yeah,
it's going to be very emotional. I feel like it's going to be very emotional to go to the theater and see it, knowing that he's not going to be there. So, but I feel like they got a firm grip on what they're going to do, and I feel like they're going to do amazing with it. And I'm really excited to see. So,
last in Top Jedi news, but certainly not least, you know, if you're a horror fan, then you know her, you love her. She is the absolute quintessential scream queen for quite a few people. You know, started her career with Halloween 1978, just like her mother before her with Psycho. You know, when it comes to the horror genre. Jamie Lee Curtis is going to be presented with a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Venice International Film Festival in September, where they will be premiering Halloween Kills in Italy. And, you know, from what I gather, Jamie Lee's just very proud of the fact that, you know, she's being presented this late in her career, you know, with the character that actually started her off. She's got a deep connection to Laurie Strode, and, you know, she has a lot of respect for her, you know, as a you know, as a character that, you know, she helped build. Yeah. So again, that's actually going to happen in September. So like we said, we're actually going to be focusing on Black Widow, which is, you know, a character that everybody's talking about at this particular juncture because of the release of her solo film, which is coming out next week. You know, really, you know, when it comes to the character, I remember, you know, being a fan of her in the comics, not so much, you know, like I am with Wanda Maximoff or whatever, but, you know, Black Widow had, you know, quite a bit to offer in terms of action, espionage, adventure. You know what I mean? She's been part of so many teams throughout the years. But of course, since we're talking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, she is absolutely 100% one of the OG Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
And, like when it comes to Scarlett, she really took ownership of this character for quite some time. And I think she's actually one of the longest actors to play a character when it comes to, like a span of years, like Hugh Jackman, for example.
Yeah.
She really did a fantastic job. And like we said before, it seems like, from the interviews that I've seen, that she is saying goodbye to this character. And, I had actually posited this theory before in passing, that I really do think that this Black Widow movie, before even seeing a single frame of it, this is the introduction of Yelena Belova, the new Black Widow. I think this is the launch pad for her more so than Scarlett Johansson. And it seems like, the critics are kind of divided when it comes to this movie. A lot of people think she's kind of gotten, the dirty hand again when it comes to Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people that are really excited and, loved what they saw on the screen. So we have not seen the movie yet. We can't say anything about it. We can only speculate at this point. But, when it comes to cinema history and superhero characterization, Scarlet Widow as Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, is very important. And that's why we are opening up her red ledger today, just to, give her a nice send-off, when it comes to the actual character. So guys, I'll start off with you because, I've got a few issues when it comes to this character in the beginning. When she was introduced in Iron Man 2, she was pretending to be, Tony Stark's secretary, and, played that role to the fullest, where Tony was just like, Happy was looking at her, with shifty eyes, and Tony was saying stuff like, oh, I want one of those, which I guess to certain eyes could be seen as, a very sexist angle when it comes to this character. But I think, the thing I loved about it, especially at the, the end where you actually see her, blossom in Iron Man 2, and see her character fight for the first time and, be the kick-ass woman that she is. I think it kind of turns that sexism on its head a little bit. I think that's when, Scarlett, really takes, ownership of that character to a certain degree and doesn't, you know what I mean? Just knocks all those stigmas away that were, built earlier in the heyday of her, her origins, we'll call it. But when you saw the movie, Diana, how did you feel about Scarlett, as that character, that early on in the series?
Well, like what you were mentioning, I did have my issues at first because obviously Scarlett Johansson is a very, very beautiful woman. You don't need to beat that over the head and be like, yeah, I want one. She's so, you know what I mean? Just let her do her thing. And just seeing her in her fight scenes and just, kicking everybody's ass and the martial art moves that she did, I thought that was amazing to watch. But it gets so irritating when you see men just Googling over a woman and not taking the time to appreciate them as a person. You know what I mean?
I mean, the other thing we got to remember too, I guess we got to take this into account as well, is Tony was the world's greatest Playboy philanthropist at that point.
Yeah.
And he actually also had an emotional journey as well when it comes to how you treat women, how you treat people in general, you know what I mean? So, I guess you got to take that whole thing, I hate that terminology, kind of with a grain of salt, I guess. But yeah, I'm absolutely on you with that, where I just felt oh, this is Scarlett Johansson and she's smoking hot and, but but do you think that she, you'd mentioned the martial arts and stuff, but do you think that, there was a moment where she did take ownership of that character immediately?
Oh yeah, as soon as she stepped into the ring and kicked
Happy's ass, yeah.
Yeah, as soon as she kicked his ass, I was like, yes, this is what we need in these types of movies. And I respect Scarlett so much because she did speak out about her character being over sexualized and wanting to be more than that, and the fact that she was able to portray more of a stronger type of female character as the movies went on.
And Jenna, what were your thoughts about Scarlett Johansson's that character earlier on in the series?
So in the beginning, I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, I honestly, her in that movie, like, yeah. I honestly, she didn't stick with me. I didn't like her until the next movie. Like, I felt like it was a slap in the face, to be honest, because I was like, knowing that there was going to be a female superhero, I wanted her to be done justice right out of the gate. But since they immediately sexualized her, immediately kind of like made her a two-dimensional character instead of giving her definition and giving her like a more of a personality or something that could connect you to her, she like, it fell flat in the first one. And I was honestly heartbroken because I had high hopes for her. And, you know, it wasn't until the later movies that I started going, oh my God, I love this girl. Like, but I felt with that first sighting of her, it was just like, oh man, like I was just like,
yeah, she's hot, she's leather clad, like, she's here. Yeah,
because I had the expectation that they would do her justice. I didn't grow up reading Captain America or like the Avengers or Black Widow. I didn't read any of them, so I was going off of, you know, I read X-Men for the most part.
Yeah.
And like, I think that they had like one crossover and I was like, who are these people? Like, amateurs, like throw this away. But like, whenever I started, like I grew up a little bit more and I started reading like more of the Avengers comics, I was like, oh, this girl's awesome. Like, she is a real, like, she's a badass. Like, look at her, like kicking everybody's ass and like, and really getting in there and like being a real team, like being a part of the team and being like involved in things and she was given like, you know, a voice. And I felt like this one was just, it was just sad to me, like at first. Well,
you guys
said, obviously,
I don't know if you remember this, but like around the time that Scarlett started playing Natasha, I don't know if you remember some of the actual conversations or the interviews, you know, questions that she was receiving. Like guys would be like, you know, oh, that costume's so tight. Just, you know, like, do you wear underwear with that? And she's just like, well, maybe you could ask one of the guys that question. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just instantaneously like
the amount of sexism that she had to endure after that film. Honestly, like Scarlett Johansson is absolutely a badass too, like in her own right, because like she had to deal with that in real life. And like, imagine going on an interview and having that asked. And I don't know if I would probably freeze. Like, I don't know if I could actually like snap back or a return, but
I turned to Black Widow, punch him in the face.
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those things where I was like, wow, this is a little too real. Cause unfortunately, as women, we get this. This is like, you know, people will make snide comments because, you know, oh, they want us to smile, or, you know, someone will be like, your ass looks good in those jeans. It's like, like it's too real. And I hate that she had to deal with that, because she's doing it in abundance, because she is like you know, the face of this character. It really stinks that we're still kind of in that even now.
Well, let's get the weaknesses out of the way. Because, you know, when it comes to, you know, I mean, next is Captain America, Winter Soldier. And this is really when she comes into her own.
Yes.
But, you know, again, you know, when Joss Whedon was writing this character, we had mentioned before that, you know, Loki calls her a mewling quim, which is basically the C word. And, you know, in Avengers Age of Ultron, I think one of the ultimate sins when it comes to this character is when she's having this relationship with Dr. Bruce Banner, and they're having a conversation in the bedroom where I relate to you as a monster because I can't bear children. Like, I'm barren, so I'm a monster like you.
That's angered me on such a deep emotional, like primal level, that I was like, I think I'm gonna throw up. Like I was so angry, and it takes a lot to really like rile me up in that aspect. But I was like, that's not fair, man. Like that, dude, you can't do that, because like you effectively just insulted every woman in that theater that can't have kids
Yeah.
and that wants to. And I'm just like, it was one of those like, I can't breathe for a second. Like this is, so that angered me so deeply.
Well, I guess they just thought that was effective in the way of, like that's her origin, and, like all the experimentation, all the training she went through in the Red Room and all that stuff. I think that was like kind of like their, oh yeah, well, this is one of those, like those painful things that, these assassin women have to go through, so we can actually like, put it, within the screenplay or whatever. But I just think that one thing in particular, like really,
if they wanted to,
me as a male.
Yeah,
like,
if they wanted to like call her a monster for, the things that she endured, even then it's still really not okay, because as an abuse survivor, like, so you're calling like it, there was no real right way to do that line. He should have nixed it, honestly.
Yeah.
Or she should have been like, I understand, I feel like a monster too because of all these people that I've hurt. Like, that's more relatable. That is, you deal with that whenever you hurt someone's feelings, or like you kill people.
well,
Like,
it was written by ultra feminist Joss Whedon. So
yeah, so I felt that they should have done something different for that connection, and they blew it.
I absolutely agree. And I think the other thing that was really very sinful when it comes to Natasha is like, she's very rarely in a lot of these films. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like she has these standout moments, but like doesn't really.
Nope.
I don't know. I honestly, for me, I think, just like Winter Soldier and Endgame and Infinity War, like when the Russo brothers took her on as a character, it seemed like they knew what they were doing with her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though she wasn't necessarily prominent in every single scene.
Yeah.
But, I think, they actually really understood, what that character is and, what she's about. And, I mean, a lot of people would even say like, they did her dirty just killing her off. And I guess that's in the eye of the beholder, I guess. So
I'm salty about it, but I'm also kind of biased now because she grew on me pretty hard. So,
so just... Diana, let me ask you this. Like, I mean, like when it comes to her strengths or whatever, like what is the one thing that really stands out for you? I mean, obviously she's a badass and she knows how to fight. She, doesn't, have any power. She doesn't fly around. You know what I mean? She's using Krav Maga and all these different, techniques to stay alive, to work with a god and a guy in a metal suit. And like, you know what I mean? Like it's pretty incredible.
Keeping up with them.
Yeah. But like, like what's your greatest, like, like what is the greatest power when it comes to Black Widow for you?
Once they broke that two-dimensional character type of arc with her and they actually developed her having a personality,
she's very funny.
Yeah, she is. And just the fact that she cares a lot about her team and that they grew as a family with her, you could also see how she grew and how she could be a leader and how she can defend herself, which I loved. I think that that's what a lot of girls need in these types of movies to look up to. Just adding to what you guys were saying in the past, if you guys read the comics, she has hundreds or thousands of different storylines.
Oh yeah.
And then just the way they portrayed her in the films, I think that they could have done a lot more with her to show the strong woman that she was.
I absolutely agree. And, and again, I want to let people know that this is not a shit on the MCU show, but, unfortunately, she just didn't get the same representation as Cap or Tony, or, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, here we are, of course, because of the pandemic or whatever, and it did take some time, but, here we are like so long out, and she's finally getting a tribute to, a character that should have been represented quite some time ago.
Yeah, it's just the little bits and pieces that they did show of Black Widow with her character development, I just wanted to see a lot more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what about you? Like, what is your greatest, like, what is the power of about her as a woman that you love?
Her intelligence.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
honestly, let's break it down. Like this woman is tactical. She is highly skilled, highly intelligent. There was a scene, I can't remember which film it was, but there were people on sidewalks. She went to the center while she's getting shot at because she's like civilians.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I noticed that and I was like, oh my God, like, look at you, girl. Like she is so skilled and she is so honed in on those abilities
Mm-hmm.
that it's so breathtaking. Like it's so powerful and amazing. And then also her compassion. You just, there are so many times where you can just tell that she has so much compassion in her heart for not only her team, but for civilians, for people that are innocent. She really sees the bigger picture of everything. And eventually they bring that out with her and everybody. And it kind of resonates a little bit harder with her compassion for like, and being able to see the big picture. So yeah, I would say intelligence and compassion.
I had mentioned in the past episode, I believe it's not even a comic book movie. I mean, this is how far back we're talking. That I felt that this woman was so broken and distraught at a given point that maybe, this is a sad way to think about it. Like, her demise in Vormir, even though it was probably not something that she would, desire. Like, I'm not saying she's suicidal, but maybe death was the only real reward that she felt she was able to get offered. You know what I mean? Like, they took everything away from her in the MCU.
Yeah.
She has this, she has this burgeoning, relationship, where her heart's starting to, to open up, and they take that away from her. They take this away from her and take this away from her. What's left aside from, self-sacrifice? There's really nothing else. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really depressing aspect of Nat as a character, that I truly feel that, there was no winning for her at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there was no, kind of like when Loki, says, like, maybe we're not, destined to win, but we do survive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So maybe this is all just kind of like a survival thing for her. And
Yeah.
even though she probably wanted more, and the studios didn't necessarily give her more to, to chew on when it comes to, certain emotionalities, certain, feelings that, like, women have in regular life and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
It's safe to say that Black Widow is a very tragic individual.
Yeah. But I feel like she also, like, during that scene, she knew the bigger picture. Again, that goes back into the intelligence thing. And it's, to quote Spock, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
There you
go. So she saw that bigger picture, and she was like, she knew that Clint had kids. Yeah. She was like, it only makes sense. I get it. It sucks. I hate it. And I want it. I want to take it back. But,
Right. And what I'm saying is that's only because Marvel made her like the barren, loveless, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I have nothing to really live for except for, this family, dynamic that I've created for myself. Like that, like she was really done dirty in this series. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then with her sacrifice, she didn't get a proper send off. And then looking into that, I think
Hulk
that
threw a bench.
But the reason for that was they wanted to cut down on screen time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And with the Black Widow movie, apparently this is going to give fans a lot more closure. But
I hope so.
I hope so. Because
I'm really hoping so. I would hate to see Scarlett get a send-off that's not due her character. And unfortunately, when it comes to the internet and stuff, people that have actually been fortunate enough to see this, a lot of people were kind of, split 50-50. Some people feel like,
Oh,
it was
man.
respectful, and other people are just like, again, they just let her go with like real, no real, nothing to really, like remember her by, I guess. You know what I mean?
Man, they better not do my girl dirty.
So let me ask you guys this, when it comes to, just the film series as a whole, is there anything that you actually like find, very memorable when it comes to this actual character? I've got quite a few moments in my own head. But Diana, what was your favorite Black Widow moment in the MCU?
Besides the action sequences, she is a very funny character.
Absolutely.
I always get the films mixed up, so forgive me if I get this wrong, but I believe it was an Endgame where she was like, I get emails from a raccoon. Like, she just seems so cool about everything.
Yeah.
Even though there's chaos everywhere.
Well, that was all kind of thrown in their lap, like the Guardians of the Galaxy and their existence, and like, oh my God, like there's a whole vastness of space that we had no idea about, and she's just like, you know what, I get emails from a raccoon now, I'm totally fine with it.
God bless Rocket, he's such an angel. I love him.
Jenna, what was one of your favorite I think I know one of them, but
one of them, yes, you do know. However, I honestly really love all the interactions, and I know that I'm going to condense it all into one, but I really love all of the interactions that Nat has with Cap. I feel like it showcased their friendship and how close they are together.
Yeah.
Which actually leads me into like my absolute favorite scene ever, which was whenever Nat's like, I'm gonna throw this peanut butter sandwich at you. And I'm just like, oh my God, because like I do have a friend that dresses up as Cap, and I always dress up as Widow. And he is one of my closest friends. And whenever I saw that scene, I was so angry with myself that we didn't see it together, because that is such a dynamic between him and I. There's so many, because we've worked together a lot doing these characters for like charity events and things like that. And we pander off each other a lot. So seeing all those scenes and then seeing this specific one, it was so our personalities. And I immediately got out of the theater, and I was like, the second that you get out of the theater, let me know. And he texts me back, and he's like, peanut butter sandwich. I was like, yes. He's like, I'm so mad we didn't see it together. I was like, I know, we should have dressed up together. So like, it was seeing characters have that like close bond, that close friendship, and it be nothing more than just that friendship, that like that bond, that family bond is just like, it makes my heart sing, because like I firmly believe in chosen family, and like he's definitely chosen family. So it was just like I love seeing that.
I mean, speaking of Cap, I mean, this is a woman who went above and beyond and became a war criminal for this guy. I mean, talk about friendship.
Yep.
And absconded for like 3 years. You know what I mean? Because she couldn't be anywhere. Like they just had to hide, and she knew that's what she was up against, and still was like, I'm going to help you help your friend. Like with absolute selflessness. And aside from all the punching and the the flipping and all that stuff, I think one of my absolute favorite Black Widow moments, and it is very tragic because what happens, but it just shows the character that she had become, when they're getting ready to hit the time machine, and she says, see you in a minute.
Yeah,
like she was so dedicated to that cause. You know what I mean? And I think that was something that you were also saying, is that she knew Clint, she loved Clint, they were friends, Clint has a family, he has a wife, he has kids, and she wasn't going to let him do that to himself. She really was a woman who probably like in the grand scheme maybe murdered thousands of people, and did some really horrible stuff, maybe blew up hospitals, like with children inside. Who knows? Like when she said red ledger, that's what she meant. I'm trying to wipe the red from my ledger. Like my life is covered in blood. Yeah. And you know what I mean? Like we were seeing her at a point in Endgame where she was completely and utterly selfless and, would do anything, for her squad, for her family.
Her chosen family.
Vin Diesel. But yeah, she, that's who, Nat became. And unfortunately she wasn't able to truly live that out. And, she's a tragic character. She really is. There's really, aside from like, some funny moments and this and that, I mean, nobody could say like, there's a couple things you could say about Black Widow. She's amazing and she's tactical and she's smart and all this other stuff, but you cannot say that her life wasn't horrible because it is. But that's the point where we left her, where she was just, I'm going to do anything for these people or anybody in general. I just want to save anybody that I can. Yeah. And, I think, if we weren't getting this Black Widow movie, as sad as it is, I think that would be the greatest bookend for her, I think, because this Black Widow movie just kind of seems
salty like, about it, but
it just seems like, this Black Widow movie, as excited as I am about it, it just seems like, in essence, it's just sort of like a time capsule, and an introduction to a character that we have not been introduced to yet. Right. So yeah, I mean, speaking of the Black Widow movie, let's talk about that for a second. So obviously we're going to be reviewing that movie the next go around. But what are you expecting in particular, Diana, when it comes to this particular journey?
I don't know. Like I said, I've avoided everything that has to do with telling what happens in this movie. But I really love Rachel Weisz. I don't remember the last movie she's been in, to be honest. So seeing her in that trailer, like,
she's been out for a while. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So of course I'm excited for Black Widow, but I'm really excited to see the story development with her mom and her sister and how that whole family dynamic works.
Mm-hmm. What about you?
As far as like,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
But as far as Black Widow's character, I don't really know what else to expect. Like, I feel like this movie should have came out sooner. Like, we've seen how her character ended, so I just don't really know what else I would want with it, but I'm still excited.
Yeah, me too. Most definitely. Jenna, what about you? What are you expecting from Black Widow?
I just want to see her off in a good light. Like, I want there to be some pinnacle moment where it's just like, okay, this is, I'm okay with her decision in at the end. Like, I want to have some resolution with that. I'm excited to see everybody, like, what they're doing with that, like the family dynamic, see if they go a little bit more into her past, like her backstory. Like maybe giving us blips of it. I'm interested to see what they do, but I'm really hoping that they give my girl like something more tangible and really, round her off personality wise.
I'm excited to see this Red Room program open up because we've seen flashbacks of it, but we never really seen what it is.
Yep. And I feel like we may see it with this.
Oh, most definitely. And I'm really hoping that they lay into the fact that these are people who, were probably taken from all across the world and reprogrammed to be the killers that they are, that they're built to be. And I'm really just, I think, just like you, when it comes to the actual quote unquote family dynamic, because in my honest opinion, I think that this might be like that TV show that was on FX with Kerry Russell, like The Americans, where they're pretending to be a family.
Yeah.
But, you know what I mean? Like, some sort of like, spy outfit or whatever. Maybe they went to the United States and pretended to be a Russian family. Who knows? But they're not technically family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But her and Yelena are sisters. You know what I mean? From their history, from their experience. And it's going to be great to see their dynamic in the way they work. You know what I mean? Because we only seen her hanging with the Avengers. We haven't seen her in an actual relationship where she has some sort of, you know, like connected fiber or whatever. But again, we get into a sad situation. Even her family is a lie too. And that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I'm just, you know, and of course, you know, the action and stuff. It's I don't know. I'm really super excited for this one. And again, like you, Jenna, I hope it's a great send off for her. I hope it, you know, it does her the justice that she deserved quite some time ago throughout the series.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All I gotta say is, you know, and I'll let you guys, you know, say whatever, you know, whatever you want to say after this, but, you know, just I love characters that are taken by actors, like I said before, and they really do some really wonderful things with them. Give them longevity, give them a pulse, and Scarlett Johansson just did a wonderful job with Natasha Romanoff. And, you know, I mean, it's not like Scarlett Johansson's like done acting, you know what I mean? She's got a hell of a career coming her way, you know, that she's already, you know, like been building since Ghost World when she was like 15 years old. But I do want to say thank you, Scarlett, for what you've done with this character. I hope it's not the end for you, you know, like never say never, I guess is the terminology they use at the MCU. But it's been a hell of a run. I absolutely loved seeing you on the screen. I wish they had done more when it comes to your characterization in certain ways, but from what we saw, you're absolutely legendary in the cinematic comic book world, and we just wish you well. Thank you for the memories and the punching and the you're awesome. You were awesome as Black Widow. You guys anything to say?
Don't leave me.
Don't leave me.
I just love Scarlett for being such a strong person during the whole filming of the series and standing up for herself and her character.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Anything you got to say for the end of the episode, Jenna?
I'm just gonna miss her. I'm such a softie. I'm gonna probably cry the whole movie.
But but that's the thing. We're such geeks that it is going to feel like we lost somebody.
Yeah.
We are going to be reviewing Black Widow next week, and I do want to say this. I welcome Florence Pugh into the MCU. If she is the new Black Widow, if Yelena Belova is here to stay, I am totally fine with it. Florence Pugh is a wonderful actress, and I think that character is really going to turn some heads, you know, especially this group as well. I think we're just going to be like, oh my God, I love Yelena Belova. Like, she's amazing.
I'm excited.
So it'll kind of be a salve on the wound, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you know, at least we're getting her sister, and, you know, like, you know, there is some connective tissue there. You know what I mean? So it won't be as painful. But yeah, I don't know. Thank you, Scarlett. You were amazing. You know, all those years that, you know, you played this character was fantastic. I mean, there's really not much else to say. So that's our show, guys. As I said before, we're going to be focusing on the review for Black Widow 2021. We're all really excited to see it, you know, as we said before. This is our 20th episode. So thank you very much for your continued love and support. Please hit that like button. It helps us get out to more people. And just want to let you know that the website is actually coming up this year. It's actually going to launch in October or November of this year. So if you are journalists, we are looking for horror reporters and gamers and all kinds of stuff. So, you know, dust off that resume, and you know, we'll definitely get into that. So thank you again, guys. We'll see you next week. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.